3 seasons ago, it looked like Blake Griffin had found a career resurgence with the Detroit Pistons as he led them to a postseason appearance, and though they were swept in the first round, it was a positive sign to see, especially considering that he had added skills and moves to his arsenal that we had never seen from him before, such as a consistent three-point shot. And for his efforts that season, he was not only an all-star, but he even made an all-NBA team. But now, just a couple of years later, it's 2021, and Blake Griffin has declined so rapidly that he looks like a role player. And it's no joke, the numbers back it up, as currently he's averaging 12 points and 6 rebounds along with 4 assists, but he's doing it on some of the worst shooting splits of his entire career. He's shooting 37% from the field, 32% from 3 on nearly 6 attempts a game, and he's also shooting 67% at the free throw line. Blake Griffin right now is playing the worst basketball that he has ever played. And in today's video, we're going to go over what happened to Blake Griffin's superstar NBA career and what led us to the current state that he's in right now in Detroit. But before we go any further, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel, push that bell for post notifications. Also comment your opinions down below in the comment section, and I will interact with as many people as possible. What do you guys think about Blake Griffin's career? Let me know down below. Also follow me on Twitter and Instagram. My social media links are down below in the description box, as well as check out First Possession, a sports show with me and my guy Jono. All of the links are down below. Make sure you check them out. But without further ado, let's get back to Blake Griffin. It seemed like when Blake Griffin came into the NBA, he was one of the most beloved players in the league, as in his rookie season he was outstanding out of the gate, an all-star, averaging 23 points along with grabbing 12 rebounds and facilitating 4 assists, while shooting 50% from the field. But outside of his numbers, what really captivated the hearts of NBA fans around the world was his ability to dunk the ball no matter who was in the paint, as numerous posters were accomplished every single night that he stepped onto a court. Kendrick Perkins, Gallinari, all of them are victims of Blake Griffin. Let's not forget what he did to Serge Ibaka and Pau Gasol also. Those guys also felt his wrath. And when they paired him up with Chris Paul, numerous people thought that they were going to be contenders in the Western Conference, as later on with the addition of DeAndre Jordan as the big man on the interior, many people thought a championship was waiting to happen in Los Angeles for the sister of the Los Angeles Lakers, known as the Clippers. But we all know the story of the Clippers. Year in and year out, they consistently failed in the postseason. And what actually baffles me about the Blake Griffin and Lob City era is the fact that nobody gets on him for the fact that he underperformed in a lot of series that they needed him to step up, such as 2013 against the Memphis Grizzlies, in which he averaged 13 points shooting 45% from the field and was put in prison by Marc Gasol, which I understand he was a great defender, even winning Defensive Player of the Year at one point in his career. But unfortunately, that is not just going to cut it, especially when you're held to a standard of being a consistent 20-point per game scorer, especially when your co-star in Chris Paul is averaging 22 points per contest and is lighting up the Memphis Grizzlies on crazy efficiency as he shot 53% from the field as well. And this will become a common theme for the Los Angeles Clippers throughout the Lob City era, as you could see not only in the playoffs but even in the regular season at points that Blake Griffin just could not close games, simply due to the fact that he is just not that great of a shot creator. Blake Griffin was athletic, he could explode to the rim, he was great in the pick and roll, but he didn't really have that much of a post game, and though he did have a mid-range game back then, a lot of his points were generated due to Chris Paul. And that's where the issues came for the Clippers, like I said before. When Blake Griffin was not able to create his own shot, Chris Paul had to do everything for the offense. He had to initiate plays, he had to play make, he also had to score, and in the clutch, who was their go-to? It certainly wasn't Blake Griffin or DeAndre Jordan, it had to be Chris Paul. And that's why consistently people said they need a wing, they need a small forward, they need somebody that can create their own shot on the perimeter outside of Chris Paul. Because for a guy that's 6'1" or 6 feet, depending on what you believe, there's only so much that you can do. And especially considering that Chris Paul consistently got hurt time after time after time, postseason after postseason after postseason, they needed to get him another option on that perimeter. And though that was a consistent complaint that people had time in and time out, year in and year out, the Clippers were unable to successfully address that issue. They brought in Lance Stevenson, which was a bust. Caron Butler was there for a couple of years, but there was only so much he could do at that stage in his career. And let's not forget when they went to get Paul Pierce. I don't think I have to elaborate on why that failed. And in combination to the fact that they just didn't really have a go-to scorer in a lot of key moments of the games, as I mentioned earlier, injuries hit Chris Paul due to the load that he had on the offensive side of the ball, but also they hit Blake Griffin as well, as there were numerous postseason runs where we knew at the bottom of our hearts that the Clippers would have gone farther had they not suffered an injury of some sort. And just like that, the Lob City era came to a close as Chris Paul wanted out and went to the Houston Rockets. They got some pieces back and they decided to make Blake Griffin the face of the franchise. And that right there I thought was a huge mistake, because as good as Blake Griffin was throughout his time with the Clippers, Blake Griffin was not worth a 5-year max extension worth $173 million. To put that into perspective, next year is the last year of Blake Griffin's deal potentially, as he has a player option. But the reason I know that he's going to opt into it is because he's owed nearly $39 million. Guys, I'm sorry. I don't care how many All-NBAs he's made or how many All-Star teams he's made. At the time that they gave him that contract, Blake Griffin wasn't even an All-Star for the last 2 years. And not only that, but Blake Griffin was injury prone as hell. Like I said earlier, he missed numerous postseasons due to injuries, but when you combine that with the fact that he just didn't really have that much skill to his game, he's not worth that amount of money. I'm sorry, but looking at what the Clippers did following the extension that they gave him, you could say it was a dirty move, but honestly, it was the right one to make. Because after subpar games that Blake Griffin played for the Clippers, in which he shot 44% from the field and 34% from behind the arc, and he was shooting below 30% from the mid-range area, it was obvious that Blake Griffin was far removed from the player that he used to be, and without Chris Paul, he was just never going to reach the potential that a lot of people thought he could reach going back to his rookie season. So eventually the conversation shifted from Blake Griffin being one of the better power forwards in the league to how long is Blake Griffin going to last in the NBA? Because that's just how bad he looked. And when you combine that with the injuries that he suffered time in and time out and his athleticism waning, there was a huge question mark on the future of Blake Griffin. But in his second year with the Detroit Pistons, having a full season under his belt, he built chemistry with Andre Drummond, and he went out there and had one of the best years of his career. His ball handling was on point, he was able to play make for others, but the biggest addition was the addition of a three-point shot, because attempting 7 threes a game at the power forward position is technically normal nowadays, and he even shot above league average, which was a career high for him at 36%. But unfortunately, Blake Griffin the next season was unable to rekindle some of that magic, as he missed the first 10 games due to recovering from a knee surgery, and then after 18 games where he didn't look that impressive whatsoever, he had to get another surgery on his left knee again, and he was declared out for the season. And now that brings us to where we are today. Because right now, Blake Griffin went from being a star that had superstar potential to being just another guy. And as sad as that sounds, let's just be honest here. He's not a great three-point shooter. He's not even average. So he's not really spacing the floor whatsoever at the power forward position. He's constantly hurt time in and time out. And he's bad on the defensive side of the ball. Also, he's not even that much of a rebounder. Let's not forget that, as his career high in rebounds was achieved in his rookie season. So what does that mean? It means that we're seeing the end of Blake Griffin. And it's sad. I grew up watching this guy throughout my entire childhood. I remember him jumping over that Kia car and people went crazy. But now he's just a jag. Just another guy. But if you disagree, because I'm sure all you Pistons fans still have hope, let me know in the comment section down below. Also subscribe to the channel, push the bell for post notifications, and if you enjoyed this video, drop a like. Follow me on social media, my links are down below. Y'all stay safe, I'm out. Peace.